Caroline Kennedy has just released a scathing warning about her cousin, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., urging senators to reject his nomination to lead the Department of Health and Human Services. Watch this.
I've known Bobby my whole life. We grew up together. It's no surprise that he keeps birds of prey as pets, because Bobby himself is a predator. I watch his younger brothers and cousins follow him down the path of drug addiction. His basement, his garage, his dorm room were always the center of the action, where drugs were available, and he enjoyed showing off how he put baby chickens and mice in a blender to feed to his hawks. It was often a perverse scene of despair and violence.
Let's bring back our team of political experts. David Chalian, of the things that have come up about R.F. Kennedy Jr., many of which he's confirmed, this one is especially odd and bizarre.
Though fits with a pattern, right?
Right.
That is, it is, and it's obviously very powerful to hear from his cousin, Caroline Kennedy, who, as she noted in the video, was in a government position and serving as U.S. ambassador to Australia during the Biden administration. So when Bobby Kennedy Jr.'s family was coming out, against him when he was first running against Joe Biden in a Democratic primary and then running an independent bid for the presidency before he got out and backed Donald Trump, she wasn't sort of leading the charge there. And so it's sort of a new, powerful voice, obviously, to that. But just hearing her words, it makes you step back. And obviously she's doing this on the eve of his confirmation hearing, just at the same moment that it is not clear yet that he has locked up all the votes he needs for confirmation. And there are some very loud voices in the Republican media echo chamber that are weighing in with concerns about him too. And so his path to confirmation is not assured. And what Caroline Kennedy is doing here is trying to make sure that the earth beneath his feet remains tough to navigate in these days ahead.
Lauren, I wonder whether you think Republicans are going to stick with him. The president certainly has.
At this moment, for sure. But, I think that Republican senators have a real job here to make sure that they thoroughly vet, because while, RFK is a popular figure, I think, especially a new popular figure in the MAGA movement, right? He used to be a Democrat just a few short years ago. So he doesn't neatly align, I think, with Republicans or with the MAGA movement per se. However, he did bring an interesting coalition to this campaign that makes up the new Republican Party. So I think that has to be taken account to, and that the president definitely deserves to have people around him that he wants advising him. However, I think senators are going to take a real look at is HHS the right spot for him? And is there somewhere else that he could go?
Yeah, look, this was a payoff for his support for Donald Trump. But when you have the Wall Street Journal, which also editorialized against him on Monday, I believe it was, so Caroline Kennedy and the Wall Street Journal agreeing, that might be a moment of bipartisanship that we see in these hearings, talking about, frankly, a conflict of interest, not just his bizarre habits or birds of prey, but his relationship with trial lawyers around different vaccine lawsuits, and specifically one regarding the HPV vaccine, where he has said he will continue to get a payout while he serves as HHS secretary. So that is a real conflict of interest, and the Journal raised a number of other issues. So in addition to, you may think he's weird, he's also got some very dangerous beliefs. He's, as Caroline pointed out, vaccinated his own children, but prescribes to people not to vaccinate their children. So he's got some odd positions that make him dangerous.
Some Democrats who seem to flirt with the idea of potentially voting for him.
I suspect they will be disabused of that. I mean, from what I'm hearing from activists, there is a lot of activity going on. I think you'll see some protests, and people are making their voices heard in their congressmen's offices, that they're very concerned about what him at the top of HHS could mean, particularly when, look, we could have another pandemic. We don't know. And is this the person that you would want in charge of that very sensitive operation?
I do think that his nomination also, it lends itself to, we do want people who will question what is going on in government. And I think that is another thing, is you don't want somebody who's going to go in that's part of the industry that's going to rubber stamp everything. So, does he strike that balance is the question. But I do think it's worth noting that, his vaccine positions, while he said he's definitely not going to ban vaccines and he's not going to come in with that intent, having someone who will question the norms is definitely on par for this administration, and something that the disruption of this election wanted.
And we should note, John Thune, the majority leader in the Senate, said yesterday that he felt that RFK Jr. was making progress with Republicans in explaining his positions, whether on the issue of abortion or vaccines or what have you, to get folks comfortable. I thought that was a telltale sign when the majority leader is coming out ahead to sort of assert that he's making it.
Right.
That to me was like the first indication, like this is a little rocky at the moment. And so I do think we have to watch how he performs tomorrow very closely, because to your point with Karen, I do think when we first was nominated, it was like, oh, he might get an interesting like cross-party coalition here. I'm not sure that that's the case right now.
Before we go, I do want to play another part of what we heard from Caroline Kennedy. Let's listen.
We are a close family, and none of that is easy to say. It also wasn't easy to remain silent last year when Bobby expropriated my father's image and distorted President Kennedy's legacy to advance his own failed presidential campaign, and then groveled to Donald Trump for a job. Bobby continues to grandstand off my father's assassination and that of his own father. It's incomprehensible to me that someone who is willing to exploit their own painful family tragedies for publicity would be put in charge of America's life and death situations.
Stepping back, David, overall, this is such an unusual circumstance to have the family member of a nominated cabinet secretary come out and basically say this person cannot be confirmed.
Yes, it is unusual, though not unusual for Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who has experience with his family coming out opposing him and his ideas for years now, literally. And so this, is a dynamic that has been on display in their family. And sometimes we've seen the family still stand with him as a family member, but disagree with him. Caroline Kennedy is not doing that today.
David, Karen, Lauren, appreciate you all. Thanks so much for joining us.